It had been 2 weeks since Sarah transferred to Rosewood High School. The building was ancient, its walls sagging with the weight of history and neglect. The halls were long and narrow, the floors creaking underfoot like the bones of a forgotten creature. There was something unsettling about the place, but Sarah couldn't quite put her finger on it. On her third day, Sarah discovered a narrow hallway hidden behind an old forgotten door at the end of a rarely used corridor. It was tucked behind a stack of old lockers, almost invisible to the casual observer. She noticed a strange, faint smell of mildew and dust as she pushed the door open, revealing a passage that seemed to go on forever. The hallway was oddly cold, a chill that made Sarah's breath visible in the air. As she walked further, she noticed strange markings on the walls, symbols that didn't seem to belong to any language she recognized. Her heart raced, but curiosity pushed her forward, as if the hallway itself was pulling her deeper into its unknown depths. Suddenly, Sarah heard faint whispers. At first, she thought it was the wind, but as she stopped to listen, the voices grew clearer. They were soft, unintelligible murmurs, like a conversation taking place just out of earshot. She glanced over her shoulder but saw nothing, just the empty hallway stretching behind her. At the end of the hallway, Sarah found a door that seemed older than any of the others in the school. She hesitated before turning the handle and stepping inside. The room was freezing cold, with an antique desk at the front, blackboards covered in decades-old equations, and dust that hadn't been disturbed in years. It felt wrong, as though the room had been abandoned not by time, but by something far darker. As Sarah explored the room, she turned towards the tall, grimy window. For a moment, she saw a shadow pass across the glass. It was quick, but unmistakable, a tall figure with dark, hollow eyes. She blinked and looked again, but the shadow was gone, leaving only the dim reflection of her own startled face. The more Sarah came to the classroom, the more she began to feel like she was being watched. One day, she noticed something strange. There were faint, almost imperceptible outlines of figures sitting at the desks. They looked like students, but their faces were blank, and their bodies seemed transparent, as though they were part of the walls themselves. She tried to speak, but no sound came from her lips. One afternoon, Sarah was sitting at the old desk when she felt a heavy presence behind her. Turning slowly, she found the figure of an old teacher standing by the chalkboard, their back to her. The teacher's face was hidden in shadows, but as they turned to face her, their eyes gleamed an unnatural, chilling white. Sarah froze, unable to speak, as the teacher whispered a single word: "Leave." Terrified, Sarah fled the classroom, running down the hallway. But when she reached the end, she found the door had disappeared, replaced by a brick wall. Her heart pounded as she realized the hallway had changed. She couldn't find her way back, and the whispers began again, louder this time, filling the air with a growing sense of dread. Every attempt to leave the hallway only seemed to draw her deeper into the building's twisted architecture. The halls twisted into new directions, corridors that looped back on themselves, doors that led nowhere. Sarah began to feel like the school itself was alive, shifting and rearranging, trapping her within its ever-changing maze. Sarah stumbled upon another classroom, this one even more decayed than the last. She entered cautiously, and before she could turn to leave, the door slammed shut behind her. The same teacher from earlier appeared again, standing at the front, their face now completely obscured by shadows. A cold, bone-chilling laugh echoed through the room. In a haze of panic, Sarah finally noticed a dusty old book on one of the desks. She opened it, trembling, and found pages filled with disturbing illustrations. Portraits of students she didn't recognize, all with the same hollow eyes. The last page revealed a story of students who had gone missing over the years, their souls trapped in the school by a malevolent force, a force that fed on fear and despair. As Sarah tried to leave the room, the teacher appeared before her once more, but this time, their form began to distort. Their bodies stretched and warped, growing tall and impossibly thin, their face splitting open to reveal a mouth full of jagged teeth. The entity leaned toward her, and Sarah realized with horror that the school had been feeding on the souls of those trapped within its walls. With no way out and nowhere to turn, Sarah screamed. Her voice echoed through the labyrinth of hallways, but the walls absorbed her cry, swallowing it whole. And then, just as the teacher lunged for her, everything went silent. The darkness took over and the school was once again still, as though Sarah had never existed at all. Weeks passed, and no one remembered Sarah. The school continued its quiet, unsettling existence, and the mysterious hallway was once again hidden behind a forgotten door. Yet sometimes, if you listen closely, you can hear the whispers of students who never left, their voices lost to the walls, begging for release. This story, set in the eerie and decaying Rosewood High School, captures the creeping dread of a place that exists outside the realm of reality, where time and space become twisted. Each scene evokes the creeping horror of a space that seems to feed on its occupants, trapping them in an endless loop of despair. The image prompts reflect this growing tension, enhancing the horror of Sarah's experiences in the school. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.